I'm in my house. First time I've ever done an interview about the club in my house ever.
Yeah, there's a lot of firsts in this, isn't there? Yeah.
Mate, it's weird times. It's weird times. It's funny. When I got your message yesterday about wanting to talk about stuff that I like about this whole situation culturally, there's nothing I like. It's just I really miss gigs. In fact, I've worked out. The last gig I saw was on Wednesday, the 4th of March, which was the Murder Capital Working Man's Club and Ob Morris. It was Nanny Mac presentation.
Well, is that the 100 Club? Yeah.
Yeah, the 100 Club, yeah. And that was on the 4th of March, and it's now the 6th of April. So by my calculation, that's 33 days. And I think that's the longest I've ever gone without seeing a gig since I was about 16. Seriously. I was thinking about that only this morning before I came on. It's ridiculous. And I find it really, really hard because I like, technology, as you say, is great. But I'd much rather we were in the 100 Club doing this or, at your place or wherever. It's great that we can communicate like this, but I find it difficult, if I'm honest. I like socialising, I like interaction, I like seeing bands, I like seeing, bands playing together. And I think more than anything else, what this is going to do, it's going to, I've always realised I'm very lucky to do what I do, but I'm really, really going to appreciate, what I'm able to do. You know what I mean? It's, I'm realising how lucky I am. I've stopped thinking about toilets leaking, blocking up, and mice problems and all the other shit and crap that comes with running the venue. It's just all the negatives of it have just like flown out over this because it makes you realise how lucky you are.
Yeah, what state is the club in? Is it okay?
Well, like everyone else, it's trying times. I'm lucky the most in the fact that I've got amazing support. I have an amazing partner in Fred Perry, who've already said to all their partners, we will support you throughout this whole thing. Obviously, I got the localism relief at the end of January, which was massive, which means that I'm now 0 rated in terms of business rates. So that's another worry that I don't have. And so I'm very fortunate. Compared to a lot of other people, I am. And I've managed to keep all my staff on. And I've managed to keep people who work for themselves, my security guys, the lampies, the sound engineers. I've managed to sort out something for them as well until self-employed status becomes a bit more clear. So I'm able to do the right thing purely and simply because I have these amazing people around me, such as, like I say, Fred Perry and the Music Venue Trust, and Independent Venue Week, and all these amazing people that have given grassroots music so much support.
Yeah, I suppose if there's any highlights of this situation, and there's not many, but it's that sense of community, isn't it? And it's kind of looking after me.
Yeah, definitely. And also, I've thrown myself into doing. So I do quite a bit of stuff for the Felix Project, which is it stops hundreds of tons of food going into landfill and then redistributes them to places all around North London, because I work from the Enfield depot. So because of that, I've got key worker status. So at least I'm able to get out and about, if it's only 2 mornings a week, and go and meet some people and talk to. And the other thing you realise is that, we're all fed up, self-isolating and being stuck indoors. But for some people, it's so much worse than this, John. You know what I mean? There are people, I've dropped food off at a couple of places, and there's literally been parents scrambling over fences to come and get it because they got nothing. You forget when you live, as I do, here in North London, Highbury, you go 4, 5, 6 miles north to Tottenham and Edmonton, and it's a completely different picture altogether. Do you know what I mean? So, we can sit here and moan all we like, about being isolated, and it is, uncharted water for most of us. I think our generation, the ones below us, will be talking about COVID-19 like our grandparents speak about the war. I think it's, that life-changing.
Oh, yeah. But they won't talk about it at all, like the Spanish flu, which nobody ever mentioned, did they? It's really odd.
No. And it killed more people than the First World War did.
Yeah, I remember reading about that when I was a kid, and I couldn't find anyone who'd ever talk about it or mention it. It's really odd.
Yeah. So, on the positive side, we've lost, like last week, I shouldn't do this, but I keep looking at what we had on. So last week, we should have had from listening games at the club, and we should have had the Dean show. Now the Dean show, and she's amazing. That's going to be rescheduled. But what's the chance of getting William Duval back again? I mean, it's probably, it's going to be difficult, I think. But that's just the consequence of what we're all going through. And the positives for me are that I think when this is over and we finally get back to, well, I don't think the world's ever going to be normal again after this. I don't think it can be, but I think people are just going to go out in droves, and I think gigs are going to be, I think once it's over, we're going to be packed every night for months. At least I hope so, anyway.
Yeah. I mean, do you have any kind of plans of how you get back? Or it's a great unknown, isn't it?
It's a great unknown. I mean, one of the things that I was thinking about the other day is the logistics of it. I mean, I think things are going to have to be staggered. I think there's going to have to be staggered openings around the country, because if suddenly they say, right, we can all go back to work next week, we probably won't get any beer for a start for about 3 months, because all the breweries are going to be working to capacity for the demand of it. And also, I think with things like this, we've got shows that have been cancelled, rescheduled, but again, because you don't know how long this is going to last. I mean, if this goes on for another 6 weeks, are the shows that we've then got in August and September going to be moved? And, you have to consider as well that, this disease, this virus, it seems to be affecting people of a certain age. And actually, a lot of me and my mates are starting to fall into that. I mean, we were supposed to have the UK subs during this, and Charlie's like 74, and it's just like, I can't do this, which is understandable.
Yeah. I think he's not going to go straight back. I think people going to have to work out ways of running venues, how to get people into a room that's safe. Yeah. When the virus won't just disappear overnight.
Well, I think, to be honest with you, there's been people mooting the fact that, or maybe we'll open and just let 120 people in, but that's a really bad idea. That doesn't work on any level, because if the virus is still about, even if you've got 120 people rather than the capacity 300 and 100 club, there's still 120 people in a small room. So you can't take that chance. I think whatever happens, you've got to wait until this thing is gone, even if it means, being stuck like this for another 2 or 3 months. And the other thing is, financially, it just won't work. If you're only going to get 100, 120 people into a gig, the bands aren't going to get the money they want. We're not going to take the money we want. It just doesn't work. I think for us to seriously think about reopening again, I think what we have to do is we have to make sure first and foremost that it's safe for us to be full to capacity again. I think that's got to happen.
Yeah, I think what they're calling it in Austria, they're calling it living with the virus, which is the next stage after lockdown.
Yeah.
So it's going to be bumpy, isn't it? But
it is going to be bumpy. But also, John, I've always been a great believer in Mother Nature, right? As being the sort of great... what's the word I'm thinking of? She's, the all-powerful thing. And the more I think about this, I know there's been a lot of reasons as to why this has come out. I keep reading about things that have happened in chicken farms in China. There's a lot of people who think it's man-made and it's escaped from some lab somewhere. I think this is purely and simply Mother Nature blasting a couple of shots across our bows and saying, do you know what? There's too many of you. You're taking too many liberties, too many resources. You either pay heed to what's happening now, or else the next one is going to wipe the lot of you out. I genuinely think that. I mean, you look out of my window here, I can see honeysuckle, forsythia, lavender. They've never, ever looked so beautiful. The sky, have you seen the sky? The last 3 weeks, all that rain and the floods and it's suddenly, as soon as we took all the aircraft out the sky, as soon as we locked people in their houses and stopped people driving everywhere, suddenly it's like Mother Nature's breathed a huge sigh of relief and gone, thank fuck, all those horrible fucking humans have disappeared for a while. And I think, seriously, the environmental groups are now going to have hard data, rather than speculative data. They are going to have hard data about the difference this has made, having a once-in-a-lifetime chance to turn the world off for a while. And already, I've read statistics that say, New York City already in just 3 weeks has 60% less CO2 in its air than it's ever had for years and years. Industrial China, they can smell the air. I mean, the air out there, it smells fantastic. And the other, just before the about 2-3 weeks ago, I took Stan, my dog, up to Hampstead Heath. I mean, I've stopped doing that now because I think it's best not to travel anywhere unless you have to, obviously. But I could see beyond Canary Wharf and see those towns and places the other side of Canary Wharf before we get to Gatwick. I've never been able to see that far ever. I mean, the evidence is there for everyone to see, I'm sure of it.
Yeah, centre of Manchester, it's like being in the countryside. It's really was. Ironically, I normally have a bit of a cough because of the air, and I've not had a cough for about 4 weeks.
There you go.
It's
just incredible. Honestly, mate, I am convinced this is no higher power. This is just common sense. This is Mother Nature going, do you know what? We can't do this anymore. We can't live with all you people and what you're doing. And I think there will be serious consequences after this. I don't think the world will be the same. I think things like air travel has got to be restricted. Things like business meetings. When we can talk, and we could do this as easily if you're in New York or if you're in Manchester. So why are we flying people around the world every 5 minutes to go to business meetings? Why are we flying in apples from New Zealand? Fruit is seasonal for a reason. If we can only eat apples for 4 months of the year, 5 months of the year, so be it. If I can't eat an orange again, I don't mind, I mean, there's bigger, more important things at stake here,
Yeah, well, hopefully the politicians will listen, but we haven't got very good politicians at the moment.
No, unfortunately,
Trump to change things, well, I think we're still in trouble, really.
I know, because, for people like this, they're not going to heed this warning. And, we live unfortunately, in most of the world of society now where money is the number one thing. It doesn't matter about people, it doesn't matter about illness. Money is the thing that trumps everything, excuse the pun.
Yeah.
And, we have to, but I do think there is going to be enormous pressure, especially as I mentioned, from the environmental groups. So I think the evidence is going to be overwhelming that we cannot carry on like this, And I do honestly believe that if we don't heed it and we get another one of these pandemics in whenever, 5 years, 10 years time, I think it'll probably wipe most of us out, to be honest. We've got to take a long, hard look at ourselves and listen and just look out the window. I mean, I find it can't be a coincidence that the weather's suddenly turned like this. Now we've taken all the planes out of the air and everything else. It's mad.
Yeah. So I mean, which is great and which is right. But what I need from you now is the 5 cultural items that are getting you through the lockdown. So it could be a piece of music, could be your dog, it could be anything. What are the 5 things?
Well, Stan, my dog, yeah, without question, he's an absolute superstar. He's actually got his own Twitter feed. He's Stan the 100 Club Dog on Twitter now. In fact, one of the last few times I was on the tube, this woman got on and she said to me, "Oh, what an amazing dog. I love Irish Terriers. They're beautiful." She goes, "But if you think I'm mad, my husband's even worse." She said, "He even follows this Irish Terrier on Twitter called Stan the 100 Club Dog." And I went, "That's him." She couldn't believe it. So Stan, yeah, he gets us through. And then I've done a little music thing, which I followed on Facebook, didn't get invited, but did it myself. My 10 albums that influenced my taste of music. So I've gone through all my vinyl.
So albums?
Oh, well, I've only issued 2 so far.
Yeah.
What I'm doing is I'm just releasing one a day and then nominating somebody for theirs. So I obviously, I go back a long way. So the 2 that I've revealed so far are Aladdin Sane by David Bowie, and of course the obvious one, Never Mind the Bollocks by the Sex Pistols, but there's some other punk ones in there as well. And the other thing that I've done is caught up on films that I've never seen before that I should have done. And actually, although I've been at home for the last 2 weeks, there's been quite a lot to do with, looking after staff and all that kind of stuff. So I've only just started doing that, but I watched my first film that I've never got round to watching that I should have done a couple of days ago, which was Jawbone, which Mark Baxter, Mark Baxter made, and it's fantastic. It's absolutely brilliant. I recommend that to anybody. So I've got a whole list of films that I'm going to go through. Books as well. There are certain books that I've never read before, which I've decided that I want to start reading, including having a go at Shakespeare, because I've never done it. I mean, I left school with, I just left school with nothing really. And I just thought, I've never ever attempted to have a go at it, and there's obviously like big noises made about it. I mean, there must be something about it. So give it a go. So I'm going to have a go at stuff like that. And then also...
School spoiled Shakespeare because they taught it as an academic, but really he wrote plays for the people.
Yeah.
And also he's very subversive. So he was getting lots of anti-government, anti-oppressive versions of religion into what he's writing as well. And he lived in a time of plague as well, which is interesting.
Yeah. So I'm gonna have a go at all that sort of stuff. I cook a lot anyway, but actually it's hard to get out and get what you want at the moment. So that's one thing and another. And culturally, the other thing as well, is it culture? No, but I've just decided to have a go at my garden because I'm not very good at it. I don't have green fingers, but I had loads of I've got a book and I had tomato plants and stuff like that. So I'm going to have a go and see if I can regrow them out of the stuff from, that we pulled out the ground a couple of months back, which has been in pots and stuff. And it probably won't grow, but, I've got nothing else to do at the moment. I might as well try.
Literally getting back to your roots.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, why not? It's, I genuinely think, John, that this is the start of something different. And I mean, I'm a bloke of a certain age now, and a lot of blokes my age, I want to get back. It's like, no, there's definitely something in the air which is telling us we've just got to start behaving differently. I think definitely.
So just getting back onto music, because that's where we join up. I'm just thinking with your list of albums, did David Bowie ever play the 100 Club? I don't think
he did.
Yeah,
and I didn't find out until he died. And obviously, I think for a lot of people, David Bowie dying was like having a relative dying. I mean, he'd just been such an enormous part of my life. And then I saw something on Twitter or Facebook, one of the social media groups, saying that he played 3 consecutive Saturdays as Davy Jones in the lower third in 1965, I think it was. And the show was sponsored by someone like Butlins or something like that. It was really odd. But yeah, he did. He played there in 1965. And in fact, all the albums that I've chosen have, funnily enough, and I didn't think about it, it's only now that I'm recalling in my head, they've all played there at the 100 Club bar one. And that is PJ Harvey, who is my heroine, really. I mean, she's my female version of David Bowie. And so I've got one of her albums in there, but the others I'm not going to reveal until they all end up on Facebook. So
it's time to get PJ Harvey booked into the 100 Club for...
Do you know what, mate? That would be... I've been very lucky, John, as I said early on. I've actually seen nearly all my heroes down. I never saw Bowie, obviously. But PJ Harvey, she's about one of the last left on the bucket list, that I'd absolutely love to see down there. And I know her cousin who plays down there quite a bit, Kenrick Rowe, the drummer, who's currently with the Specials. He's been her drummer for absolutely ages, and they all say, "Oh yeah, look, we'll let her know, and we'll see if we can get her to come down." But nothing's worked just yet, so I'm hoping she's watching this.
These are different times, different rules now after this. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, definitely,
What was
mate.
the first gig you went to at the 100 Club?
Which one? Sorry.
What was your first gig at your own club?
Bill Knowles' Good Time Jazz Band for my 6th birthday in 1966, and he got up on stage and he said, "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest in the crowd tonight. It's his 6th birthday. Would you please stand and give a big cheer and a big rendition of Happy Birthday to Jeff Horton?" And I remember I just wanted the floor to open up and swallow me. I hated it. But strangely enough, Bill built the stage at the 100 Club. He was my dad's oldest mate. And he built the stage at the 100 Club in 1964. And it's the same stage that everyone from Muddy Waters to the Sex Pistols to Amy Winehouse to Queens of the Stone Age have all played. And it was Bill that built it. And one of the other stories I remember about Bill, so there's like 2 real seminal moments in my life. The first was when I was 15 and I was a bored 15-year-old living in Dorset. My mum and dad had moved me from London down to Dorset. And I went to the Royal British Legion in a place called Ferndown to this under-18s disco. And the DJ was just like the worst fucking DJ ever. I mean, he was the theme from Vanderbilt. It was a Saturday night band. And he suddenly put on Anarchy in the UK. And that 5 minutes absolutely changed my life. In fact, I mentioned it to my dad a few years later. He said he had a similar moment, because my dad owned the club before me. He said he had a similar moment when he heard Tutti Frutti for the first time by Little Richard. And he said that was the only connection he ever had between me and the Sex Pistols. He just said to me when I mentioned this to him, well, do you like that lot? And I went, yeah. And he went, no, they're nothing but bloody trouble. But yeah, he was, and then about 6 months later, I left school. I didn't know what I was going to do. And I went up to work for Bill. Bill, by this time, had left London and was making houses up in Aberdeen for people that had found all the North soil. So all the executives, he was building houses for them. So I went and worked on his building site for a while. And with my first pay packet, I went to the record shop on Union Street and I bought the first Clash album. And I think it's either the 6th or 7th track on side one, which on a lyric which says, "You said you were going out to the 100 Club," and that was the moment where I thought, yeah, I know what I've got to be doing. It's not working on building sites.
Yeah, it's a family business. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, well that's great.
Yeah.
So that's great. Yeah. Hello.
All right, mate. Sorry, you're just breaking up a bit.
Yeah, it's cracking up a little bit, isn't it? But I've got.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. Yeah.
All right, John.
Right. Yeah. Well, good luck, and I'll see you on the other side.
See you on the other side, and take care of yourself, mate. Good luck.
Yeah. All right, Jeff. Thanks. All right. See you.
Cheers, John. Take care, mate. Bye.